Welcome back everyone to our weekly dissection videos. Today I'm going to be going through the arteries and veins with you, and you're gonna have to bear with me just a little bit. My rabbit's arteries did not get dyed super well, so hopefully I will be able to show them to you well on the camera. And if you guys have any questions, we can definitely answer them during lab. So the first one, we're actually going to start with veins because my rabbit, his veins dyed very, very well. So that's what I'm going to start with. So I'm sure by now, I hope you guys know the cranial and caudal vena cava. So that's where I'm going to start. So I'm going to go on to the right side of the heart, and that's what I'm going to find first is this cranial vena cava up here on the top, going into the right atrium of the heart. And then just below that, I'll have the caudal vena cava, also meeting the rabbit, coming into the right side of the heart as well. And on the back side of the heart, so cranial vena cava, caudal vena cava. Or obviously, if you guys want to look down here to the bottom of the rabbit, the caudal vena cava is the one that exploded back here. So it's going to be how I'm finding this is I have my renal vein and it's coming into the caudal vena cava, so right here. Okay, moving back up. Cranial vena cava, and caudal vena cava. I also want to show you, and I may have to wait till we get done and cut out the heart. You are going to cut out the heart today. So we're coming into the cranial vena cava. We also have another vein called the azygos, and that is the first branch off of this cranial vena cava. So it actually wraps around the back of the heart, and I'm going to show you that when we cut out the heart. So it actually lays kind of on that bottom side of the heart, on the dorsal side of the heart. The cranial vena cava, back up to this vein, has two veins coming off of it. And it's the same vein, but just different sides. So we have the left brachiocephalic vein and the right brachiocephalic vein. And actually, I kind of cut mine just a little bit over here on the left side, just because I was really trying to clean it up to get to the arteries on this side. But you have cranial vena cava, this, and then it would come off of this and actually curve over and go this way to the left side. Now, off of the brachiocephalic vein, it branches once again. So as it's coming up, it branches here. So I have the right external jugular and the right subclavian. So here, and actually you can see where it branches and comes over here, but I accidentally cut that. So cranial vena cava branches to go to the left external jugular and the left subclavian. The right side, we have the cranial vena cava, right external jugular, right subclavian. And then as the subclavian moves down the arm, so just like when we were looking at the nerves on this side, you saw that you had a vein going down into the arm. So same vein as the subclavian, but as it moves down the arm, it changes names. So, as this vein moves down the arm, we have subclavian, then it turns into axillary, which if you can remember, axillary means armpit. So, axillary and then brachial. So brachial is when it gets deeper down into the elbow. And then off of the subclavian, we also have the subscapular, which comes off of the subclavian and goes deep into the arm and wraps around to the scapula. So, once again, we have the cranial vena cava, subclavian, external jugular, subclavian, axillary in the armpit, brachial, deeper down into the elbow. Okay, so now I'm going to do the arteries. And the arteries have the same names as the veins, except we only have one brachiocephalic artery. So, brachiocephalic artery and subclavian. So we basically skip the brachiocephalic artery on the left side and just have the subclavian. So, this is the part, hopefully I cleaned it up enough that you can see it. And this is the part where we have a problem that my rabbit did not get dyed very well. So it's pretty hard because they're not red. So, coming out of the heart, coming out of that left ventricle, we have the aorta. The aorta is going to curve and go to the bottom half of the body. So, we have the aortic arch. That's the aortic arch. And coming off of that aortic arch, we have the brachiocephalic artery, which comes to the right side of the animal, and the left subclavian, which goes directly to the arm. So, aortic arch. Then coming this side, we have the brachiocephalic trunk, which is actually what is before it branches. So just a term, and then that's right here at the bottom part. And then as it branches, this actually branches into both of your carotid arteries. So both of the carotid arteries come off of the brachiocephalic artery. Then as it continues to come over, it then turns into the subclavian, axillary, and the brachial. So on the left side, we don't have a brachiocephalic artery, but we immediately have the left subclavian, axillary, then the brachial. And hopefully once I get the heart cut out, I'll also be able to show you that as well. So, moving on. Once again, it's pretty hard to see on a my rabbit, but we have on top of the heart, so we have coronary arteries that obviously supply blood to the muscles within the heart. So coronary arteries, and actually if you've ever heard of, I'm sure you have, someone having a heart attack, what actually happens is these arteries that are on top of the heart like this, those are the ones that are getting plugged. And then also, while I'm here, we have the intercostal arteries. So in between each one of your ribs, we have arteries as well. So you should be able to see those. Those are arteries that actually did turn red. So I'm going to move down the rabbit a little bit more. And the next one we have, kind of going back to veins here, sorry. I'm going to show you the portal vein. And the portal vein, portal meaning going into the liver, is bringing, and actually you can see it within my liver here, is bringing nutrients from the intestines into the vein into the liver, sorry, so that it can get filtered in here. So what I want to do is kind of figure out where my intestines are coming into my liver. So you can see all this blue right here. Actually, it's in here. It's the stomach. Okay. So hopefully you can see that within right here. This how this is all blue right here. That's the portal vein. So once again, carrying blood from the intestines into the liver where it gets filtered. And don't mistake this for the caudal vena cava. That's pretty common because they both run on the back side here. So portal vein to the liver, caudal vena cava to the heart. And then also within our intestines, within this mesentery, we have the mesenteric arteries and veins. So all these, this pink and blue within the mesentery here as well. And that's where the blood is coming from the intestines into these mesenteric arteries and veins, well, veins, and then to the portal vein. And then as we move down the leg, or to the legs, hopefully when you guys were doing some of either the muscle dissection or when you did the cross section of your leg, you should be able to see the femoral arteries and veins as well. I can see it really well here within my cross section of this leg. I have both the femoral vein and the femoral artery as well on this side. So the next one, the next few that I'm going to show you, actually going to require you to do a little cutting. So the next arteries and veins that we're actually looking for are down here on the back, on the dorsal side of the animal. So what we're going to do is take my scissors here and cut out some of this fat. You are going to take your scissors and we're actually going to cut off the last part of your colon. So we're going to cut this out. You don't have to cut very much out, just enough to kind of clean this area up. I'm also going to pick out some of this fat from this rabbit. Hopefully it will help you guys see better. One thing to note also, I forgot to tell you guys, up here on this part of the rabbit, I did cut the ribs out. You guys don't have to do that, but I did that for video purposes. It's hard for me to hold open the ribs and show you all the arteries and veins. But if it's easier for you to see the arteries and veins, more than welcome to cut just the top part of those ribs out. Okay, back down here. So I'm going to find, you can see my aorta really well right here at the bottom of the animal. Also my caudal vena cava, which once again exploded, but that's just all plastic dye right here. I'm going to take some of this out. So also, when we're down here, we have the renal artery and vein as well. So renal meaning kidney. So artery, vein that are coming off of that kidney into the caudal vena cava, or blood coming from the aorta to the kidney. So as I move down here to the bottom of the animal, you can see that this aorta especially, hopefully you can see that, is branching. So vein exploded a little bit. This blue stuff is actually a blue plastic dye. So when it explodes like this, all of this is a hard plastic, flexible plastic. As these arteries and veins split here in the bottom of the leg, once again, they're going to change names. So we have the external and the internal iliac artery and veins. External iliac, I have the aorta, It's going to branch, and then it becomes the external iliac. It's going to come deep into the leg and actually turn into the femoral. So once again, same artery, different name depending on where it is in the body. So aorta, external iliac, femoral artery. Same thing with the vein. Caudal vena cava, external iliac vein, femoral vein. Now, the internal iliac artery and vein are what's actually going to go deep into the pelvis. The external iliac is somewhat more internal than the internal iliac. It's called the external iliac because it actually goes more externally on the body. So because it's going down into the limb, it has the name external iliac. And you should be able to find that this external iliac goes directly to the leg and turns into this femoral. I'm not sure if I'll be able to show you on the video, but the internal iliac is down here in the bottom of the, further down the vein just a little bit, and goes deep into the pelvis right here. It's probably hard to see on the video, so please ask me in class where this artery and vein is. But once again, just know that the external iliac goes externally, turns into the femoral, and the internal goes deep into the pelvis of the animal. So lastly, we are going to cut out your heart. So I want to go as distal as I can on the heart, and I can see the caudal vena cava, and I actually just want to cut. Preferably cut out both the heart and the lungs. So I'm going to come down here, I'm going to find the caudal vena cava and the aorta, cut those. Perfect, got the bottom half of my heart and lungs cut out. I'm going to do the same thing on the top of the heart. And what I want to do is I want to try to cut as many of these arteries and veins as I can up here to keep them onto my heart, which some of them have kind of already came off anyways. And then I also am going to need to find and cut the zygos on the back side. Cut the aorta once, make sure I got that cut. Ooh. Okay. Then you can just kind of clean up this stuff on the back side. Cut the trachea. Okay. So I have my heart cut out. And you should be able to go up and clean up more of this fat off. And I want to clean it up enough that I can identify which vein and artery is which. So I want to be able to clean up. So here's where I'm going to show you. Once again, I have the caudal vena cava. I have the cranial vena cava going to the bottom side. This is actually the zygos coming to the back side of the heart right here. And it comes down just the back side like this. And that is bringing blood back from the ribs and into, meeting into that cranial vena cava and going into the right atrium of the heart. I also want to show you and if you take off the pericardium, it may make it a little easier for you to see the entrance where the cranial and caudal vena cava actually meet into this right atrium of the heart. So cranial vena cava, caudal meeting into this whole right atrium of the heart. Then I have the right ventricle left atrium, left ventricle of the heart. Okay. Also on the top side of the heart, I want to be able to find the pulmonary artery. So, pulmonary artery, this is an exception here. We always talk about arteries are always red, veins are always blue. So pulmonary artery and the pulmonary vein are exceptions. So pulmonary artery coming out of the right atrium of the heart, taking deoxygenated blood to the lungs. Pulmonary vein, which are going to be coming out of, here's one right here, coming out of the lungs and back into the heart with oxygenated blood into the left atrium of the heart. So coming into the left atrium, into the left ventricle, then out through the aorta to the rest of the body. So be sure to find those as well. And like I said, you're going to have to clean up quite a bit of fat. So that is the arteries and veins. If you guys have questions, bring them to lab with you, and the TAs and I will be happy to help you work through this. And good luck on your pre-lab quiz, and I will see you this week.